Good evening and welcome back to Table for Two. As you can see, we've gone back to James Neophytou, so the old team is here again. Sadly, obviously, Alexandra is going to have a bit of a rest this time, and it's good to have you back, James. Very good.
It's good to be back, Alex. Thank you. It's been 3 months, so
it has.
Pleased to be back. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks to Alexandra for keeping the seat warm expertly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll bring her back.
Most definitely. For good reasons, not for,
good reasons,
for bad reasons. Yeah. Now we've got a lot to go through with the show today. You've got a lovely section on Kazantzakis today. But as always, we're going to start with Sierra Leone news and the Zinc House Kids of Sierra Leone. Now, our journey into Sierra Leone starts in Birmingham this time around with the Midlands Greek and Cypriot Association annual Mayday Festival. So I was there for that, taking photos. They asked me a couple of months beforehand to go along. I went along, take photos as I do. Now, there was a football tournament. I think it was 7 teams. They had 4 football pitches.
Wow.
Drawn out.
Organised.
It was 8 aside. And the team that won is called SSF, which is Steve Stavro Football. Now, he's on Instagram. He's actually, I checked out his page. He's a private football coach and he does mentoring as well, which I think in football, especially with the younger lads, is very, very important. So anyone who wants to find Steve Stavro Football on Instagram, please do. There's quite an interesting page there. Now, that was outside. Now, inside, we had the community centre, which was full of people. They were lovely. There was cards being played, probably gonga, without money. And then there was bingo as well, for indoors. There's also the Greek and Cypriot mini supermarket indoors. Now, they also had a stall outdoors. There were several stalls. It was like a mini Cypriot wine festival, I'd say. But it had more of a community feel in that, well, there's no entry charge. There were a lot of outsiders, so it wasn't just people from the church that were coming along. So local people who saw the festival when they came along for the food and the stalls. So there was the Greek, like I said, Greek and Cypriot supermarket. They were outside as well. They had a stall there. Now also there was the lukumades, the philoptochos were making lukumades. Now, I don't know, about 2 years ago, as a joke on Facebook, I had a photo of me with the lukumades. I think it was at Banaya Church. And I said, this is the best lukumada. And then a competition started. So each time I go to a church now, the ladies at the Philoptochos get me to try the lukumades to see if they're going to be top.
Elevate, yes.
So St. Luke's were already top, and they asked me to check again. I did. And they remained top until I tried Angela's lukumades at Saints Constantine and Leone in Crystal Palace. Wow. So she's now top.
Bravo.
What they haven't noticed is the last church I go to is always top of the table.
I was going to ask you, because you must have a very good palate, because every lukma I've ever tasted, it's exactly the same.
It is, but don't tell.
That's the trick.
But don't tell the women from the Philoptochos, otherwise you'll start giving me free lukumades.
You're much better at marketing than me.
So there also was a barbecue, there was a suvlagya, what have you. A lady there called Nicoletta, who's often at the Cypriot Wine Festival as well. She sells jewellery, she does all these events as well. Now, there was a horse box bar. So it was an ex-horse box, and it's called the Cat's Pyjamas Bar, where they serve beer to the people. Really good concept. There was a kids area. Now, there must be about 7 or 8 bouncy castles and what have you for the children in the corner of the field. So they were very, very, very well geared up for the children, for all ages. What you'll love about the football is there were massive crowds, like the old Goba days.
Yeah.
There were not just 100, but hundreds of people there to watch the football.
You'd struggle to get that in London, I'd say.
Definitely. And it was a young crowd. The thing is, it was a very, very young crowd.
I've always been impressed by the Midlands, to be honest.
Yeah.
Birmingham, the 2 churches, Coventry. I don't know.
It's still there. Yeah. And then obviously there's a Greek school there. The Estia has a Greek school. They were dancing as well. And our friend Chris Karolis was there,
right,
from the federation.
He gets everywhere.
Yeah, I know he was. So he was there. It was good to see him, actually. Good to see him there as well. Now we're going to slowly fade into the Sierra Leone bit. Now there's a lady called Chryso Ilia. Now, she contacted me about a month or so before the festival, and she said they want to do a fundraising event to raise money to dig a a well.
Yeah.
And this is their fifth well, and it's in memory of Stavros Ilia, who sadly lost his life a few years back. So straight away I thought about an area called Goderich Village in Freetown, where last year we had a party for about 300 children, and just by chance the elder for that area, he said, "Look, can we try and raise money for a well or a borehole?" All of a sudden, I have this lady who's offering. So they raised £2,000 at this event. It was just a simple event. It wasn't a massive event. They raised £2,000. We sent that to Sierra Leone. That got the ball rolling. So they started digging this well. Now, as well as that, obviously, it's not a simple case of getting machinery and that's it done. It's all done by hand, with pickaxes, with shovels, with spades. And then they encounter a massive boulder, absolutely enormous. To soften it or to break it down, they have to put charcoal in the hole now, light the charcoal, let it burn so they can then break it. So then they've got to take all these bits of rock out. I think they're about 12 foot deep. It's about 3.5 meters. They need to dig at least 40 feet to get to the water.
Amazing.
They've got more boulders in the way now, so we sent them money to buy more equipment, an auger. That'll be the final part of the dig through the clay. Pickaxes, sledgehammers to try and get through these rocks. So they're going well with that. Now we're also paying for the workers to eat. There's 6 workers. You can only fit one in the hole at a time because it's obviously it's not that big an area. We're feeding them as well. We're paying for the new equipment so they can dig, because they've gone through their equipment as well. And then once they find water, then they start sealing it with cement around the edges, and then eventually we have 3 options to bring up the water. There's a bucket with a rope. So if you think 40 feet down, it's a long way up. Then there's a pump. Now, even a hand pump, it's quite a way to come up. And then what we want to go for is a solar-powered pump.
Wow!
And that should hopefully simplify things for them. So that's what we're hoping for.
Amazing.
So that's basically is from Birmingham to Sierra Leone news. And I mean, St. Luke's, where they had the festival, they've done so much for Sierra Leone. And now, as you can see there, James, we have Kazantzakis written there. Now, just to remind people, it's Kazantzakis, not Kazantzakis, because a couple of people actually said to me, when I said, "Oh, James, we're speaking about Kazantzakis," they go, "Oh, the singer." So, because the film came out recently.
I know.
So, so we know who Kazantzakis is. So, please, James.
Yeah, so I was in hospital recently, and I had many books by my bedside, and thank you everybody for your prayers. But one book I wanted was Christ Re-Crucified, O Christos Xanastavronede. I read this for my A-level 40 years ago.
Wow.
And I probably read it every 10 years. I've read it 2 or 3 times. And I wanted it because there's a special section in it that I love very much. Now, Kazantzakis, which we'll talk about, is a great Greek.
Most definitely.
England has Charles Dickens, it has Jane Austen, it has George Orwell. Greece has Kazantzakis. So I wanted to give a little festival of Kazantzakis and some of his books. So let's race through it. Now, Kazantzakis worked for the government. He helped a lot of refugees. And one passage that I love very much in Christ Re-Crucified, the story is basically a village that is giving roles to the Passion Play. They're going to enact the Easter story. Who's going to play Christ? Who's going to play Judas? Who's going to play Mary Magdalene? And the villagers are discussing this. And they hear a noise in the background. And it's another village where they're from Aizorios. Seems to be our patron saint of this show. They have nothing. The Ottomans, the Turks burnt their village, and they're just walking with everything they've got to start a new village somewhere. And they come to this village, Ligovrisi, and not everyone's welcoming. So it's amazing. It's a masterpiece, right? And just a couple of quick passages. I mean, when the 40 pages is incredible. So they've got nothing, and they're walking to find some new land, and they're led by their priest, Baba Fodis. He clasped in his arms a great gospel with heavy binding and chased silver. At his right hand, a giant with black drooping moustaches bore the old church banner on which was embroidered the tall St. George in gold. Behind them, 5 or 6 gaunt old men carried huge icons, holding them dead straight. Then followed the flock of women and men, accompanied by children crying and weeping. The men were laden with bundles and tools, shovels, spades, picks, scythes, the women with cradles, stools and tubs, everything they have. Some of us, said Baba Fodis, went as far as the cemetery, and they took the bones of their fathers and are transporting them that they may become the foundation of our new village. Look, that old man over there, he's 100 years old. He has been carrying the bones of his ancestors on his back for 3 months. It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
And that story of refugees, that's true. Kazantzakis, in the 1920s, one of his most patriotic acts, and I'll read this from the research I did, he helped refugees in the 20s, where after the Greco-Turkish War in the 20s, there was an exchange of Greeks and Turks. And Kazantzakis worked with the Ministry of Welfare under his friend, the future Nobel laureate Angelos Sigelianos. He helped organize the resettlement relief efforts for thousands of Greek refugees from Asia Minor, Turkey, ensuring their passage, shelter, and integration into Greek society.
Amazing.
He was a great patriot, great Greek. Christ Recrucified, masterpiece. Next one, Kapitan Michalis. In English, it's called Freedom and Death.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Now, we think of 1821, Greece was liberated. Not all of Greece was liberated in 1821. Crete took decades after that. So this is about Kapitan Michalis, who's a great general, and he grew up with a Turk. It was under the Ottomans, of course. He grew up with a Turkish friend called Nuri Bey. They were kids, they were friends, and they slit their thumbs and they became blood brothers. Give me your thumb, Alex. They became blood brothers,
Okay, James,
right?
thank you.
Like brothers.
Yeah.
I'm sure Hellenic's got a first aid kit, but we're not going to cut ourselves. They became blood brothers, and they grew up as generals, as leaders of their community, and they kept collaborating, coordinating. We could learn something from that across the divide. So that's one big story. And the other one is, there's a character later on in the book who kept a jar with whatever it was, formaldehyde, with ears inside. And every Turk that he killed, he cut his ear off and he put it in the jar. So he collected the ears of dead Turks. That's a very memorable thing, and I think you've got a similar story.
Well, not with ears,
Not with ears.
but my
Not that
brother.
you've killed anybody.
My brother-in-law Steio, when he was doing
Your
national
brother-in-law.
service. So he was born in '59. So he did his national service in Greece. He's from Aegina. So all these 18-year-old boys go through national service. You're eventually given a rifle, but a Cretan lad came with his own rifle, and on the wooden butt, that bit, there were some little marks on it. And Steio asked him, "What are they?" And he goes, "They're the men I've shot."
Oh my God.
So this is without a war, but these are the Cretan guys. These are the men I've shot. So yes, I can understand what you mean about the ears.
It's in the blood, Alex. It's in the DNA. Next one. Anaphora ston Greco, report to Greco. This is his autobiography.
Okay.
Kazantzakis travelled everywhere. Spain, England, Mount Athos, China, Japan, Russia. Very well-travelled man. And when he was very young, he was in Italy. There's an amazing story that I'll just read some bits for, right? So he was in Calabria, southern Italy.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Okay. The peasants in this region are wild and misanthropic, suspicious of strangers. It was raining, he couldn't find anywhere. All the doors were closed. I hesitated at every door, but did not dare to knock. Oh, for my late grandfather in Crete, who took his lantern each evening and made the rounds of the village to see if any stranger had come. He would take him home, feed him, give him a bed for the night, then in the morning see him off with a cup of wine and a slice of bread. Here in the Calabrian village, there were no such grandfathers, so he couldn't find anywhere, and it was pouring down. In the corner of the village, he sees an open door. So he walks to it, and there's a fire, and he starts warming himself, and there's an old lady, and she's cooking. She looks at him quickly, carries on with the cooking. He sees that as a "you're welcome to stay." She gives him a bowl. They eat the beans, and she puts bedding down for him, and he sleeps for the night, right? And then, let me just find the bit. She falls asleep. Outside, the rain was falling. I heard the lady's quiet breathing. She must have been tired, and she fell asleep the moment she inclined her head. So they ate, she put him on the side, they slept. The next morning he wakes up. The old lady had already risen and placed the saucepan on the fire to prepare the morning milk. They have breakfast. Then I rose and slung my carpet bag over my shoulder, took out my wallet, but the old lady coloured deeply. No, no, she murmured. As I looked at her in astonishment, her face gleamed. Goodbye and God bless you, she said. May the Lord repay you for all the good that you've done me. Since my husband died, I've never slept so well.
Okay.
So just by giving him
Yeah.
a food, a bed, warmth, she got something even more back.
Yeah.
You know this from your giving. You give a lot, but you get a lot back.
Yeah, but same with the Sierra Leone charity. People give and then they thank me for allowing them to give to Sierra Leone. Yeah, exactly. I understand that.
Exactly. So that's a beautiful story. The more you give, the more you receive. Right, now then, we get into controversial waters now. I read this book, Alexios Gennaris, when I was at university. It's a beautiful book. It's basically a psychological study of Christ.
Yeah.
I read it before the film came out, just to be ahead. It's a magnificent book. Now, people have criticised this book because they feel that it gives temptation to Christ of having a wife and kids and family, and it humanises Christ, the human aspects. Yeah. Now, those people that criticise clearly don't listen in church, right? Because in the Bible, Christ is constantly tempted, right? At so many situations. Let this cup pass from my lips. He was struggling with his ministry. Kazantzakis understood that. Matthew 26:39. Could you not stay awake, he said to his disciples, to help me? So he was clearly struggling.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful book. And in the end, yes, he's tempted by wife, children, family, home. Wife, children, family, home. What did Zorba call that? Wife, children, family, home. The full catastrophe.
Full catastrophe, yeah.
Okay. But in the end, everything is as it should be. What were the last words of Christ on the cross? Tetelestai, it's accomplished. So in the end, everything is as it should be. He uttered a triumphant cry, it is accomplished. And it was as though he said, everything had begun.
Yeah.
And just at the beginning, Kazantzakis said, I am certain that every free person who reads this book, so filled as it is with love, will more than ever before, better than ever before, love Christ. I don't know, it's a magnificent book. Those that criticise it have not read it. Best to last?
Yep, last but not least.
Now, I'm not happy with this title because the title is, in Greek, it's I Zoi και Βίος του Alexios Zorba, the life and times of Alexios Zorba. But clearly, when they invented Zorba the Greek, it became a worldwide phenomenon. So clearly they know what they're doing. And in the book, the narrator doesn't have a name.
That's right.
But the hero is Zorba. In the film, played by Alan Bates, he's called Basil.
That's right, Basil. Well, it's just in the credits they give him a name.
Right.
Rather than during they never mention the name in the film, yeah.
So this is one of your favourites, Alex.
It is, yeah. It's the one I've read.
That's what
twice, twice, which is an accomplishment for me. But also, I've seen the film about 10 times, and I've always said if they made the film exactly as the book was written, it wouldn't have been shown. Right. It would have been banned. So there's a big comparison. Also in the book, not meaning to ruin it for anyone. Alexios Zorba, he dies at the end. In the film, he doesn't.
He dances on the beach.
The film was made obviously for
Hollywood.
For an audience that wanted to see this happening.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. Well, it's my favourite of the books and the stories. Also, the fact they said he wrote it in Aegina, an island I've been to many times, and I've seen his house in Aegina, just slightly outside of Aegina town. So just to have that connection as well, just makes it extra special.
Just to finish off the Kazantzakis section, I mean, you love this book. I love these books. We've got the Nicene Creed. The Bistevo is 1700 years old. And back to the Last Temptation, if you listen to the Nicene Creed, when we say the Bistevo every Sunday in church, the criticisms that Christ is humanized in this book clearly don't stack up with the real Nicene Creed. We know the divine nature of Christ, but if you look at the words in the Bistevo, Genithenda, human, born, Sarkothenda became flesh, and Anthropisanda became man. Yeah. Stavrothenda was crucified, that's a human experience. Pathonda, he suffered. Daphenda, he was buried. Kathezomenon, he's seated. All these words are human words. So the criticism of humanizing Christ doesn't fly because it's in the Nicene Creed, and the Nicene Creed tells us the divine and the human nature. Kazantzakis understood that. So one of our heroes.
Definitely.
I was looking forward to that section.
Yeah.
Bravo.
You should be a teacher, James. You're a natural.
And next week, we're doing Charles Dickens.
Kazantzakis next week.
You need to get a special guest for Stelios.
Keep them all happy. Yeah. So, no, that was a wonderful section, James. A whole show would have been really, really
That's
good.
enough just for people to get a taste of his magnificent work. He's a beautiful writer, global in nature, and we should be proud of him. He's a great Greek.
Most definitely. Okay. Now, on to more of our church news.
Good.
We've got loads of it now.
Good.
I haven't seen what the time is, James, but we're going to start going through now. The weekend I spent at the Greek Orthodox Church of 318 Holy Fathers of Nicaea, hence the mugs. They had a festival of art, music, talks, heritage, services and celebrations for the 1700th anniversary of the First Ecumenical Council of Nicaea. So Christian bishops were assembled by the emperor at the time, the Roman Emperor Constantine the First, and that was in 325 AD, which you've mentioned. So the Nicaean Creed was established and agreed at that time, and it is as it was then. It is as it is now amongst the Orthodox. Anyway, we've kept exactly as it is for 1,700 years.
1,700 years. Yeah, it stayed as a rock.
Yeah. So that was it. So it's an amazing event. So. My visit, though, primarily was for the Mosaic Choir. Right. But the church in Shrewsbury, they now have a larger building, St. Julian's Church, which was an arts and crafts centre. It was turned into that after it was a church. So they needed bigger premises, so they've moved there. So I went there for the Mosaic Choir, primarily. It was called the Voices of Nicaea concert. Right. It was at a Catholic cathedral there, Shrewsbury Cathedral, and the Catholics gave it free of charge. We had free use of their cathedral for this concert. It was sold out. So it was Mosaic Choir and then another choir called Kronos. They're professional musicians. I've
seen them.
They're big. So the Mosaic Choir, which many of us know about, I mean, they have multiple cultures and nationalities within the choir. They performed in that night in English, Greek, Romanian, Serbian, Slavonic, Arabic, and Georgian. Apparently, Georgian was the hardest of the languages. I know someone who's actually went to Georgia, and he struggled to learn Georgian. Now the person who runs the choir is Margaret Haig. Now she's never been described as this before, but she's the PVC glue that keeps the pieces of the mosaic together. If you can imagine, this group is all over the UK. First of all, you have to hold rehearsals. No rehearsal will have the same group of people. Some do it via Zoom, others just can't attend. They have other commitments. But on the night, they all came together, and they were I have to say, they were absolutely amazing. And what Kronos brought to us was the Byzantine chants from ancient manuscripts. Wow. So they went back to the time of Nicaea, and then Mosaic brought the more, I'll say, modern aspects of the But they really were good. I really enjoyed that. There's also an icon exhibition going on, which probably by the time the show comes out, it would have finished. 15 iconographers have got together, and they got these absolutely amazing icons, James. When you see the photos, you will love them. And then, so Sunday morning now, so we have the service, Father Bandalemon, he allowed me to read the Lord's Prayer in Sierra Leonean Creole. And what I loved about it is that evening a lady came up to me, she asked me which language it was. I said Sierra Leonean Creole, the language of the freed slaves. She said it was beautiful. I've never heard someone describe my Sierra Leonean Creole as beautiful.
Bravo.
In Sierra Leone, one boy said, "You sound like a child reading in school," because it's quite
That's a compliment because it's clear.
It is, thankfully. So now that evening we had the concert, which I mentioned with the Mosaic Choir. Now Monday for me was the best part. Bank holiday Monday, we then drove to Wales, and we had it was a pilgrimage and the blessing of the waters at Saint Melangeth's shrine. My apology to any Welsh people out there. I'm sure there's a ch somewhere amongst there, but I can't quite get it out. So Melangeth's is as close as I get to it. So we had the pilgrimage. So we went to the church festival, big group of us. We had a Father John from Chester. He was there with his wife, Presbyter Vera, and we went off trying to find this well where the saint was. So we got lost so many times. It was pouring with rain. Father, when there were two paths to take, Father John was leaving arrows made from twigs, so the people who were behind can find us. As if life was that easy, we just had an arrow pointing in the right direction, that would be wonderful. But we finally made it. But it was pouring with rain. Then it was light rain. Then it was heavier, and there was no rain. So by the time we all got there, we were soaking wet. Father John, though, he blessed the waters, and then he blessed all of us with the waters, and it was a great bonding experience. And it's how I imagine pilgrimage to be.
Originally,
not just a walk up the hill, turn left, and you're there, or go up the stairs and you'll see the world.
Souvenirs.
Yeah, that's right. So, neon sign saying this way. So I mean, the amount of times we got lost.
Brilliant.
And then after that, we came back down to the church, and we had the Vespers with Father Bandalemon and his father, Father Stephen.
Amazing.
So we were all there. Now in this church, it's an ancient church. They have it looked like it's part of the sanctuary, but it's not. They have the relics and the tomb of the saint in this actual building. Now, she's the patron saint of hares, as in Hares, the animal. I won't go through the story because it will take so long just to explain it all. But she was the patron saint of hares. Yes. Yeah. Do you know who the patron saint of hairdressers is? Mary Magdalene.
Wow. Okay.
I had to look this up just so we can just say the comparison. So that was the Nicaea.
Beautiful.
Hence the mugs. Hence there's a badge there as well, and it's continuing for I think just over a month's worth of all these talks and services and exhibitions. And His Eminence will be there as well for their feast day. So it's going to be a great month and a half, a month and a bit. Now. The last bits of news, I was at St. Haralambos in East Hyde. Now, they have their Greek festival coming up on the 29th of June, and that's between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. Going by previous ones, it's going to be an amazing day. The bulk of the people that go there aren't even from the church. Sure. They're the locals, because they want to see what's happened to their old church, and they're quite happy when they see that it's actually being used
properly. Yeah.
So that was that. We had also the Byzantine School of Music. I have got it down as BSM. I was about to say British School of Motoring. So the Byzantine School of Music, Sodelios Despoti was there giving a talk. Amazing talk. It was really interesting, actually. I was at Panagia with one of your relatives, Father Theodokis.
Oh yes, that was a great day.
That was I love it when the Cypriots come and they talk, because you pick up everything. That being Cypriots, we understand slightly more and more. And then finally, there's a new dance class or new dance school called Vima. Now they're based at Oakwood Baptist Church, and it's a guy Costantino who I've known for many years. He's the one who's going to be taking the classes. So if anyone's interested in Greek dancing, it's on Monday 7 to 9 at the Oakwood Baptist Church in Enfield. It's N14. They can find it online. Vima, V-I-M-A.
For all ages?
It's for adults. It's for adults, yeah. But it's going to be a great thing. And very quickly, I'm going to shout out to Mario at the Big Fat Greek Barbecue Company, who did the barbecue at St. Constantine Eleni. Great food again, as always. These people come and serve the church. They do well. I'd let you do the final goodbyes, James, of the show.
Thank you, Alex, for a great show. Thank you, everybody. Good to be back, and we'll see you next time on Table for Two.
Wonderful.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.